Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Random Wrestling Talk, episode number 16. This monumental, epic episode that is big in my eyes. That is just going to be one topic and one topic only that was shown. I actually seen on Cage Side Seats about Dean Ambrose and the process of the WWE creative team. My oh my, is it mind-boggling and extremely exhausting just reading all this shit that this poor man had to deal with within the last remaining months of his contract with WWE. I'm going to sum some of the things I remember reading and how he was feeling with all these different issues that he was coming across with WWE. A lot of it had to do with his rivalry with Seth Rollins, if you guys remember back in the winter of 2018. He turned on Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins during the moment that Roman Reigns announced that he had leukemia and was going to have to take a back seat from WWE for a while until he heals up from this leukemia issue. So that was pretty much it with Roman Reigns. He had really nothing to do with Dean Ambrose's turn. It just happened to be Dean Ambrose's turn on Seth Rollins, and with Roman Reigns being linked with the Shield faction, he's basically turning on Roman Reigns if he didn't have an illness. Okay, fine. So he was actually mentioned, if you remember, during that horrible moment in time of Dean Ambrose's career, turning heel. Now, granted, I was all for the heel turn type of situation at that point, but the way they did it was just completely obnoxious, disgusting, and downright retarded. And Dean Ambrose pretty much said everything we, as the people who watch this shit, have said in the past. He comes across these scripts for each and every event. He says he comes up with, they have writers that come out with a bunch of scripts for him to say. He reads off some of the stuff that he read on those scripts, and he said a lot of the stuff on there just did not make any sense. He didn't feel like he would actually connect with the audience in getting anything across to them, or them even giving any two shits about this push between him and Seth Rollins, which, if you go back and watch those episodes, I don't think a fucking person gave a shit about it. Not one person. So he goes on to say something about, like, in the script, he's mentioning that the audience is worth less than a pooper scooper, some kind of shit like that. Goes on to say that, I can't believe I read this, pooper scooper. He told the writer, take this out of the script. Now, I cannot go on stage and say something like this. He also mentions things about, such as like mentioning about Roman Reigns and having cancer, and it sucks to be him. I also remember him talking about Roman Reigns dying and going to heaven, I think. I think he goes that far in the promo saying that about Roman Reigns, which I found absolutely disgusting. But I knew for a fact that was not Dean Ambrose wanting to say those type of things, which, by the way, he mentions Roman Reigns is his best friend. So there you have it, people. There's people in WWE that are really beloved by other WWE fans and yet are friends with Roman Reigns. So when you want to hate on Roman Reigns, don't hate on Roman Reigns. When Vince McMahon comes out and you hear, you've got no chance in hell, that's the man you should be booing. That's the man you should be booing. And the funny part is, and the ironic part is that people cheer for this man when he comes out to the audience. And for those of you who do, and you go to these events, and you cheer for Vince McMahon when he comes out, instead of giving him the one word he does deserve, being called an asshole, shame on you. Because you're only encouraging him to continue to be a fucking ass. Which is what he does every single week Raw and now SmackDown, because apparently all the stuff that is being done on Raw is being done on SmackDown as well. So, there you have it. He actually gets really upset with Vince McMahon at one point. He goes in there and says, why in the world are you really expecting me to say something about Roman Reigns' health? Making a mockery of that. Vince goes on to say it's nothing to be personal about. It's not to be personal with Roman Reigns. It's just meant to get you heat and get you over as a heel with the audience. That point, I understand where Vince McMahon's going with that. But, come on, Vince. Be a little bit more classier than that. Not to mention, here's another thing that throws a clue at you, that Roman Reigns is protected, which doesn't help Roman Reigns in any way, shape, or form with his career and getting him over with the audience, and that is, he's part of the story. He was part of the Shield. Well, let me tell you something, Vince. Roman Reigns was announcing that he had leukemia. He wasn't being attacked by Dean Ambrose. So, throwing that little thing in there really wasn't really a big need. That was just your own fucking bullshit ego saying, I want my superstar to be important even though he's not here. Fuck you. Okay? You want people to enjoy your superstar. Stop making it about you enjoying him. Let the fans enjoy him. And if he can't be enjoyed, if your favorite wrestler Roman Reigns can't be enjoyed by the audience, then make the fans hate Roman Reigns. At least they have a reason to boo him. Until they start coming around and wanting to cheer him. But you're so stuck up in your little box and your little fucking fantasy world about how you need to have it the way you want it. If you don't have it the way you want it, you don't give a shit. You'll do it anyway, which way you want. Which shouldn't work that way. That's not how it used to work. I mean, I don't know. Old age apparently is really catch up to you, huh, Vince? You become inability to logic, huh? That's very good. I'm very proud of you, Vince. I'm glad you've grown up in your old age. Very good. Wish you would have run this company the way that you're doing right now with WCW back in the day while they were punching your fucking teeth in every fucking week for 83 weeks. I wish you would have done that. Or do it when they were in the worst case of their fucking time. WCW in 2000 would have beaten your ass the way you got this company running now. Because this is absolute tragic. You got fucking Brock Lesnar coming out with a fucking boombox playing music of Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins. How pathetic can you be? If I would have watched that within 15 minutes of the show, I would have turned it off. Wouldn't have cared about anything else that's going on. Brock Lesnar is the biggest legit star that you have on this company. He's a legit not superstar. He's a legit athlete who actually performed in a real sport like UFC, and you got him acting like this. Shame on you, Vince. Shame on you. If I was Brock Lesnar, I would have took the fucking script, crumpled it up into a ball, and threw it in his fucking face and told him to go fuck himself. Seriously. I'd have said, I ain't doing that shit. I'm a fucking ass kicker, not a fucking joke. I don't know what Brock Lesnar needs with WWE. I don't even see that Brock Lesnar needs Vince McMahon. It's more Vince McMahon needs Brock. I think Brock has more of an advantage over Vince McMahon than Vince does on Brock. But hey, maybe his financials, he needs the income anyway. He can't take a chance of sitting there at home, chilling out with his wife and his family, and just enjoying his retirement life. Guess maybe he still needs an income to keep up with his bills. Who knows? If that's the case, by all means, go for it, buddy. You need to take care of your business. That's what a man does. They take care of the bills, they have an income, and they do their job. So I get that, if that's the case. But Dean Ambrose is going through a series of different situations that he explains. He also goes on to say that he says that Vince McMahon likes to take nouns and turn them into props. Prime example, he comes out onto Los Angeles and he says that everyone smells that he has to wear a mask. So the next week after that, when he mentions that on a Monday Night Raw episode, they have him come out wearing a fucking doctor's mask. Yeah, you know, one of those things that you keep yourself from getting sick when you operate on a patient. Then he exaggerates and brings it up even to a higher level and explodes it and expands on it even more, making it worse than it already was by making him come out with a gas mask and eventually coming out looking like fucking Bane from Batman. I mean, didn't you find all this stuff when you saw it coming on TV live and in person in front of you so entertaining? Absolutely. I found everything to be so entertaining it made me want to turn off the TV set. Come on. Dean Ambrose also mentions in this podcast with Chris Jericho that he felt that these scripts were more for an actor than it is for a professional wrestler. He said to one of the script writers that, hey, you know, I'm a wrestler. If you want to have an actual actor do this, go hire one. I think they probably could do a better job than me. I'm here to tell a story that's simple and easy for the audience to follow, where it doesn't come across making me seem like an idiot. Mentions that they spent most of their time trying to scramble and figure out a way to get rid of the pooper scooper line out of that original script before submitting it over to Vince McMahon. And he said if we could have just sat down instead of wasting our time running around like a bunch of idiots and actually thought this through to make a better script that would sound very well put together and more organized, people would actually be more invested into what we have to say in that script than just some blodge-goo bullshit that Vince McMahon decided to do. Something of that kind of nature. Not word for word what I just said, but in that kind of realm of what I just said. Quite frankly, everything they did with Dean Ambrose was downright despicable. This man has put himself through hell and high water. He has made himself come out looking like an idiot. If you remember back in 2014 with Bray Wyatt, which actually was a decent storyline build, a little bit, but how they ended it with that TLC 2014 matchup, which they were the main event, by the way, in a TLC match, they made Dean Ambrose look like a fucking idiot trying to smash a HD television over Bray Wyatt, but it was stuck to a cord that was connected inside the fucking TV set, and yet he kept pulling it and trying to hit Bray Wyatt with it, and instead it just snapped, and I believe he fell down and busted over his own head, missed Bray Wyatt completely, and he's accidentally smashed into his own skull. And then Bray Wyatt hit his Sister Abigail move and won the match. I think that's how it went down. I'd have to go back and watch that pathetic matchup to get that straightened out. But I don't think I'm going to do that for this particular segment of my video here. Point being, this man has done a lot of things for this company, which, by the way, he was definitely a star in the making, a guy that could have been used as a face of like Stone Cold Steve Austin, or in the realm of Daniel Bryan as an underdog story, achieving something that was the impossible, trying to become world champion at WrestleMania. That would have been a very good storyline they could have built around Dean Ambrose. Finn Balor's another person in that segment, in that scenario, which is, he's actually better than Dean Ambrose and should be the face of the company, yet he's just an Intercontinental paperless champion. Which I won't be surprised if he loses the title to Andrade at some point later on this year, whether it's at the Super Showdown or later on in the month of August or something at SummerSlam. Dean Ambrose pretty much, after the point of saying that he had to mention Roman Reigns' name and mention about his leukemia issue, that's where he was brought to the point where he couldn't sign with this company. He didn't feel that the company was organized. He felt that all the skills he learned in the indies for storytelling and providing a interest to the audience and connecting with its audience was not something he could use in WWE. Another thing that was mentioned, that Vince McMahon says he has creative license. Now, if he has a creative license, does that mean he has a way of creating his own shit? Of course not. He doesn't have an ability to change anything that's given to him and kind of work around that or work to make it better than what was given to him. He has to do exactly verbatim what's given to him on a script. I actually went back a long time ago. I actually looked up a Monday Night Raw script back in 2014 when Evolution was competing against The Shield at the time before Seth Rollins turned on The Shield and became his own man and sold out. So they have word for word, verbatim, what each and every character has to say in that segment. They had a script by Triple H, verbatim, Batista and Randy Orton when they were backstage before they promoted the tag team matchup with the Usos versus Randy Orton and Batista for the tag team titles. And they have these guys state exactly verbatim, like fucking robots, reading from a script. This is a tragic day in WWE when there's no creative ability, there's no open minds to any ideas. It's just what the boss says. Honestly, I don't quite understand why there isn't any open mind involved with Vince about creative ideas. If he flat out really doesn't care about professional wrestling, I mean, he used to call himself, he said, I'm not in the wrestling business. I'm into the entertainment business. Sports entertainment. Okay, Vince. You say you're sports entertainment. Alright, well, your show's about professional wrestling, which professional wrestling is a sport, technically, even though it's fixed matches and who wins, who loses. But it's still a sport. It's still contact. There's still wrestling holds maneuvered by the performers in the ring, and there's an actual story built in to help make the match seem important and hype people into getting sucked into this to be interested in watching this match. Anything like watching a boxing match or a UFC. The fighters help promote the fight. They get their words across. They get in heated debates or arguments about who's the better fighter and whatever, or what they're going to do in the fight, their strategies or what have you. They talk trash. They get into each other's head. They play mind fuck control games with each other to get over on them mentally. That's something that The Undertaker used to do with his little goofing, gooby goblin bullshit, and just getting into his opponent's head with the dead man gimmick. That was great what they used to do with him. That's something they could do with their words between different wrestlers. When they do those contract signings and they really get serious, those are great segments. Those are segments that you can take seriously. When you have guys like Kofi Kingston running around, throwing around fucking pancakes to people while wearing a WWE championship and being beaten down like a government mule and still being okay with it, doesn't really add up to me. So that's a bit of the problems with WWE. Now we as fans, if we are deep-hearted, hardcore wrestling fans who really observe this shit and actually research this stuff on the internet, you find out a lot of the stuff that Dean Ambrose is saying, he confirms that we've been reading. It's true. It's all a bunch of misorganized shit with no fucking set path to where they're going to get a point across to get you interested in the fucking rivalry that they're trying to create. They just are like, hey, just throw some shit up against the wall, see if it sticks. That's not how you do things. You don't do that in business. You don't do that in a wrestling company. You don't do that anywhere. You always have a set plan. You go with that plan and make it succeed. That is what you do. Vince McMahon over-exaggerates and blows things up out of proportions. He makes them seem so idiotic and insane. It's like, am I watching a wrestling show or am I watching the insane asylum? I mean, what's next? He's going to have these people rolling out in fucking straitjackets, bouncing off of walls? I mean, honestly, this show is in shambles. WWE's main product is just a complete and utter joke, and I feel bad for anyone that's on the NXT roster. Because you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to succeed. You're not going to help make the show better. You're just going to be lumped in with the globs of shit that they've created for these other NXT alumni. That's it. Simple as that. Anyway, leave your comments and opinions down below. Hit the like button if you liked the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to this video. And I thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful night. And I thank you very much for taking the time to watch this 20-plus minute video. And I hope I got my point across, unlike what WWE can do on a regular basis. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great night.